Well, it's time. Let's begin it. I believe I can hear that train a-coming. The Trump train just made its first stop. Liz Cheney. Bye-bye. She just got hit by the Trump train. Third most powerful Republican just sent packing. And it's good riddance. So out of touch. Every time this happens, and this literally is ruining careers, miscalculating the populist movement behind Donald Trump. Stupidest move you can make. And every time they make it, it's like a kindness of God, because it reveals what their real disposition is. Trump is like a truth serum. He makes whatever is in you come out. Now, the story with Liz Cheney, for those of you who aren't tracking with this, is she is clearly part of the swamp world and has been since she grew up right there in, McLean, Virginia. So the battle we got now, let me see if I can get, I love his song with Johnny Cash. But I want you to catch this thing with Liz, because she is like the news item right now. And the fact of the matter is that her obnoxious commentary regarding Trump and completely misreading the way in which the country, the party, was responding to the frustration over how the election was handled, just literally created a temptation for her to go on public record saying that she, as far as she was concerned, he was inciting irresponsible rhetoric, was leading to the destruction of America, and that she was going to do everything she could to stop it. And she became quite a hero to the left. But as you can imagine, she suffered some real serious setback. Let me see if I can catch CBS, of all places, telling you their take on this.
As GOP conference chair, the Wyoming representative was the number 3 Republican in the House, and she was voted out of that position after publicly denouncing former President Trump's false claims of voter fraud during the 2020
Catch
election.
it, false claims.
Despite her ouster, Cheney says she will remain a vocal critic of Mr. Trump's. CBS News correspondent Nicole Killian has more.
A vocal critic. That's why Trump has power to get rid of her.
The Congresswoman emerged undeterred.
Congresswoman, do you feel betrayed by today's vote?
I do not. I think that it is an indication of where the Republican Party is. We cannot be dragged backward by the very dangerous lies of a former president.
Cheney was booted as the number 3 leader in the party in a closed-door vote that lasted only about 15 minutes.
The election is over.
Sources inside the room tell CBS News the Wyoming Republican was booed after saying she won't embrace former President Trump's big lie that the 2020 election was stolen. She told them, "If you want leaders who will enable and spread his destructive lies, I'm not your person."
I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office.
Yeah, well, she's toast.
The president, who has pushed for her removal for months, called Cheney a bitter, horrible human being, as some of her Republican colleagues publicly celebrated her
Madison.
lies.
Frankly, it doesn't serve us well if she's fomenting division in our ranks.
The shakeup caps a remarkable turn of events.
Now, what do you think about this quote here with Kevin McCarthy? Kevin McCarthy, I'm concerned about him.
Few public supporters today.
Listen to what comes up.
Senator John McCain, who said Liz Cheney chose truth over lies. She chose country over party.
Do you think the party has hit a low?
I hope so.
Another Illinois Republican, Adam Kinzinger, said his colleagues chose their path forward.
The conference has made their will heard. They want to continue to go along with this kind of Trump vision.
Illinois,
of the party.
get rid of this guy.
And Nicole Killian joins me now from Capitol Hill. Nicole, just hours after the Cheney vote, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy
All right, watch
said,
this.
I don't think anyone is questioning the legitimacy of the presidential election.
What?
But that seems to
What?
contradict why many believe the Congresswoman was actually voted out of her position. So does McCarthy's statements track with the rest of the GOP? And where does the party stand in terms of their support for former President Trump and his continued calls that the election was illegitimate?
Well, McCarthy did speak to reporters back here at the Capitol after that White House meeting and said, this isn't about how any members voted with respect to impeachment. This was really about who can best deliver their
Answers the
message.
question.
That's kind of how he is couching that. And that really is, in his view and in Republican leaders' view, the main reason why this vote took place today. They felt that after a certain point, Liz Cheney was becoming a distraction, and while certainly many argue she...
A distraction? A distraction? My gosh. She was like a constipation to the system. All right, so listen. So Liz Cheney's out. The power of Trump. This guy, not in office, without a social media platform, can simply say, and there goes the third most powerful Republican. Don't think Nikki Haley doesn't regret talking to Liz Cheney and the two of them getting together and going, oh, that Trump, he's done as much damage as he's done good. She's toast. We're not going to forget that. You know why? We're just looking for people that want to have an honest election, understand inflation's going through the roof, unemployment is back, Russia's heading for the Ukraine, China's flexing its muscles to take Taiwan, the Middle East stupidity of the Biden policy with Iran has emboldened them to fund Hamas in order to put 1,000 rockets down in Israel, while American news organizations go, oh, it's terrible what the Jews are doing over there to the poor victims, the Palestinians, after 1,000 bombs get landed on them. America's waking up. It's a strange awakening, but it's a good awakening. I think it's going to take a lot of pain. Remember Trump saying, you'll be tired of winning? Well, this is the opposite of that. It's called, how much pain does it take before you realize you made a boo-boo with Biden? So anyway, now the gas prices are up, of course, because the pipeline, he shut down, and then they do business with China. We got hackers that get in, and they basically hacked right into our, gas line from Texas to the Northeast. Oh, got a little muscle cramp there on my left leg. Oh boy, was I walking yesterday. Man, did I take Annabelle had me walking. Where was I? I was in Jersey, Cape May, New Jersey. Woo, I walked a couple miles. Better stretch these limbs out. Okay, so listen. The Trump train is moving. But let's take a look at what's going on here with the Israel ambassador. I want you to catch this. We're doing multiple news sources.
Biden actually gave Hamas millions. Hamas used the money to buy weapons.
Biden gave Hamas millions. That's smart.
Break down what's happening. Do acts like this, do they not leave Hamas feeling powerful?
Here's the Israeli
what
ambassador.
stand out to you?
Well, there were a few steps taken by the new administration. They decided to re-enter the Human Rights Council, this notorious organization. They decided to renew aid to UNRWA organization, despite the incitement in the UNRWA schools.
It's hard to understand what they're saying. They sound a little bit like French, a French Elmer Fudd.
I think the most problematic issue is the JCPOA, the Iran deal, the appeasement of the Iranians, because the Iranians are very involved in everything, even in the cycle we have today with Hamas, the technology for the rockets, the funding for the rockets, it all comes.
All the technology came from Iran.
The U.S. will re-enter the JCPOA, and the Iranians will have billions of dollars to spend on their proxies, including Hamas.
So one question that really hasn't been answered or even touched on is why does the mainstream media so often leave out facts when it comes to this conflict? Ambassador, you've seen these networks
because they're full of the devil.
Palestinian attacks and what really is the inevitable Israeli response as just a cycle of violence or excusing the murder of innocent Israelis as some sort of built-up anger over occupation.
Right. They're trying to justify. Well, of course, you have to kill Israelis because the suppressed and oppressed victim status of the Palestinians. Which, by the way, you know the story of the PLO? In 1948, when Israel was formed, the Arabs were brought in from all the surrounding nations and the Arabs that were there in the land in the hopes that the Jews were going to get wiped out and they were going to take over their houses and their property. Well, when the Jews in 1948 held the land and defeated all the other Arab countries around them, it was kind of amazing because they weren't even allowed to have weapons. They literally had to smuggle in weapons and disguise them as farm equipment in kibbutzes so that Benjamin Disraeli could arm them and train them because Britain didn't pulled out and didn't allow Israel to have an army to protect themselves. 1948, America wasn't quite there yet. They recognized Israel's right to exist as a nation, but we weren't given any military help. They had to fight on their own. Shockingly, they defeated all the Arab nations around them. And when the Arabs were there that didn't get the land and the houses that they thought they were going to get when the Jews got killed off after the Holocaust of all things, really great hospitality there. None of the other Arab nations will let them come back in. So now you've got an indigenous population of hundreds of thousands of these people displaced. They don't have the property that they had before. Now it's under Israeli occupation. So they've lost the land. They were thinking they were going to expand, and they had no place to go because the other Arab countries with all the real estate they've got wouldn't let them in. So they carved out a part of Israel and declared that they want the east part of Jerusalem and they want to be an independent nation. And Israel says, well, it's kind of hard. I mean, you say we're a terrorist nation. You want to wipe us out. Do you think maybe we should start with giving us acknowledgement that we have a right to exist? No, you don't have a right to exist, you thieves. So that's been the dysfunction of the Middle East. So don't let anybody taught you nonsense about the oppressive Jewish people there, because the story of the PLO was they didn't exist as a nation to begin with. They were created by the failure of the Arabs to kill the Jews off and remove them when they became a nation in 1948. Now, what's happening right now is obviously Israel has an advantage in terms of they don't have an advantage in terms of 1,000 rockets. But they do have sophistication. So they got 1,000 rockets, and they're going deeper into Israel, which is just plain destructive. But they're incentivized by money from Iran. And because Biden has taken sanctions off of Iran without any consequence, and Iran goes, well, thank you. It's kind of like, having a snake that was held back. As soon as you take the pressure off, it goes to strike. And so this is just the stupidity of Washington politics. This is why Trump ran for president, because he said these guys do stupid stuff all the time. Well, this is the stupid they do. And here's the sad thing. They think it's really shrewd. They think they're smart. They think Trump screwed things up by brokering a peace deal that destabilized the Middle East with too much peace. So they're going to go back and destabilize it so that the peace kind of stops and get it back to where it was before. Talk about an idiotic foreign policy. Anyway, what's going to happen is Israel's going to continue to use jets. They're going to do pinpoint targeting you're going to see more casualties in the PLO world because they literally use civilians as a shield so that when they're shot at, civilians get killed, and they could go to the Western press and go, they're killing innocent people, not saying that they're using innocent people as a human shield in order to make them a casualty count and to discourage Israel from shooting at them because they're in hospitals, mosques, and residential centers where they're parking their little missile sites and launching their missiles from. It's really this is already a known tactic, but you would think that the press would tell you what they're doing. There's no sympathy for a country that just, without provocation or justification, rains down 1,000 missiles on its neighbors, and it tells you why you've got a problem with Middle East peace. So we pray for the peace of Jerusalem, which we had when Trump was president, but of course he was a Cyrus in office. I keep saying it, even though some people kind of get nauseous over the fact that Trump is this, Trump is that. Yeah, he was. All knuckleheads out there, he was. Isaiah 45, Cyrus, a modern day Cyrus. And and when you don't have Cyrus, you don't have the military restraint that comes with that anointing that Trump had. Now you see China getting aggressive. You see Russia getting aggressive. I'm waiting any day now for North Korea because South Korea's president is weak and wimpy. Pray for strong populist leadership and a strong conservative message to stir up all those progressive, weak and anemic South Korea. South Korea could fold with all of its freedom and democracy just because North Korea is so consolidated in its aggressiveness. This is what happens. It's like in the United States, we're getting bullied out of the public square, bullied off of media, bullied into silence, bullied into wearing masks. Whether MIT comes out with a study saying the mask doesn't make a difference, doesn't matter. It's a form of submission. It's like it's like the burqa. See, the Muslims have a burqa over the women, so they have them in submission to their religion. The Democrats have the mask so that you're in submission to their religion. And it's the woke awakening that they want you to be submitted to. So even though, like I said, MIT's research says, really, there's no evidence the masks are actually making a difference. And, because the bacteria actually works its way in a strange way through kind of like a mosquito going through a chain link baseball fence. The mask fibers don't stop that, and besides, bacteria doesn't spread that way now anyway. So we'll talk about that at another time. I can't talk about it on any of these channels. Certainly not, on Facebook and YouTube and on Instagram. So you want to go to liftable.tv/underground. Liftable.tv/underground. I'm going to be doing like a 45-minute a day, an hour a day. Rush Limbaugh meets, Joe Pentecost. And I'm going to be giving you the conservative news and views, the inside story on Trump. McCarthy, he doesn't impress me. I'm telling you something. McCarthy does not impress me. I'm sorry. I may run into the guy. He may hear me say this. But he's just, for him to even make a statement and not retract it, that he thinks he's not saying the election wasn't valid. Biden, why doesn't he just say, you're standing in the way of us examining the results in Arizona. What are you hiding? Help us help you. Take a line from Tom Cruise's movie there. Help me help you. Because Americans need to know that their elections are fair and just. The H.R. 1 stupid thing, what they want to do? They want to take a lawnmower across all the states and destroy every state's ability to have its own protocol for voter ID, for voter checking, for voter integrity. The federal governments will wipe it out, bombarding the average, mini mind out there with this. They're trying to take away election fairness. The Republicans vote for election fairness. And they always come up with these titles for stuff. Election fairness, election equality. And in fact, it's the exact opposite. It's election ruin the ability of the Republicans to ever compete and win, and let us make this into a communist Venezuela where we have perpetual power and can shut down your churches and persecute your freedom of speech, and then get your guns so that you can't stop us when we take your property. I know that sounds cynical. I'm just increasing the threshold of pain so that anyone who's not persuaded can know, are you tired of not winning yet? Because this is all the policies, including the inflation, including the now $30+ trillion of debt, which is all for porculous infrastructure that is going to accomplish nothing in terms of helping small businesses to be able to survive the destruction of the policies of Democrat-run governors in bankrupt cities and states that are getting bailed out under the guise of stimulus and infrastructure that isn't infrastructuring anything. Anyway, this is, I just wanted to get that to you. Now, the good news before I sign off, South Lake, Texas, decided when they started looking at the critical race theory curriculum coming into the schools, they mobilized, the churches mobilized behind the scenes. You know what they did? They put 1,000 civic leaders to get involved with the school board, get involved with the mayor's race. And the left got knocked upside the head. The Democrats don't know what the heck happened because they were incrementally cooking us here in Texas because we are paying attention to governors and Congress and Senate and the big president's office. We're not looking at who's coming in to the school, to the neighborhood, the crack house down the street, which is critical race theory. So, which they want to get into your kids' brains so they can turn your kids against you. So, what's happened? 1,000 of them stormed in, stood up and said, hey, we don't like the way you're running things. We're going to vote for someone else. Boom, 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 boom. They overturned those things. You got to do that. You cannot win by prayer alone. Man does not live by prayer alone, but by prayer and obedience. And obedience means occupy. Occupy means go. You know what a missionary is? It's someone who goes into all the world. You got to be a missionary for the kingdom, and you got to go in to protect the rules, the laws, and the freedoms you got from having them stolen from you by evil. You have to get involved with the school board and the city council and the mayor's office. And if you're not qualified to run, don't run. I mean, some people hear me say this, and then, Lance, I'm running. I'm thinking, don't run. Walk. Walk, walk, walk. Get involved first. Know what you're doing. So if you're not ready for that, then go stand with someone else who is called to do it. Don't have to be so proud that you always be you as the hero in the story. You come alongside and help someone else who's qualified to run, that has a business, that has a track record. You know, the Bible says, the deacons were those that were that already have a reputation among the people as being able to do business and have wisdom. That's what the deacons were. It wasn't somebody with a prophecy. I'm going to be a deacon someday. I'm going to be a congressman. Makes sense? All right, I'm going to have to hop off the phone because Annabelle's calling. And got to go catch up. But she's preaching in New Jersey at Peter Roselli and Trish Roselli's church in New Jersey. I don't know if you guys are over there. You should probably go check it out. I'll try to post where it is. Remember, you want to catch me? I'm coming up now on Liftable, a new platform, Liftable, liftable.tv/underground. If you do that, you're going to be able to get a hold of not only me, but Michael Jr. We got comedians. We got George Barnum with Data. We got Lee Strobel with Apologetics. We got Tony Perkins with the Washington Watch. It's just a great team we got. It's freakishly cool. So, and I'm hoping to do an afternoon slot every day. Like I said, I think we got 500, 600 of you guys over there now. Let's get a couple of thousand. Let's get 10,000 so that we can, we got some muscle. We could do something. When we talk about a school board, you can actually, get 50 people to show up. Then does that make sense to you? All right, praying for Israel. I pray that they're going to have unity in their government, coalition government, that Netanyahu will continue to have authority to lead, that this interruption is going to work out to his favor and his favorability in Israel, even though they got a problem. 20% of the population is Arab, and the Arabs don't like Netanyahu because he's a strong leader for in terms of dealing with Hamas. But keep praying. Now, I think tomorrow night I'm going to be back on Flashpoint Thursday night, and I think we have Kevin Sorbo on, who's that great actor. And I think he had 400,000 people on one of his social media channels, and bam, he was just taken off, executed by the the Silicon Valley Siberia party there. So, but we'll be on that show tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with all of you and taking a look at what Donald Trump is going to be doing, because he's coming back with a vengeance. He's back on track, and I can hear that train a-coming. And that train is coming with Donald Trump on it. And the good news is that what's happening with him is he is looking at those midterms, and I'm believing that if we can have that prayer movement going, a lot of Christians aren't happy about what I'm talking about. I'm saying I want to really see those rallies become revivals. And they don't want that. Well, I'm sorry. I think they're missing it. They're just weak-stomached over politics and anything. But Trump's going to be righteous, and he's going to take a right stand. If he's going to speak the truth for the nation, then we're going to stand with him. And we got DeSantis, we got Cruz, we got Pompeo. We got some strong leaders, and I believe there's some strong women in Congress we're going to hear more of. Talk to you soon. Share this. I love how you guys share this stuff. Keep the messages alive and let people know that there's hope. The awakening is going to agitate. This is an agitating awakening, but it's going to be the medicine needed to save America. And I'll talk to you soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, would you let me know? Just click like over here. And if you want to be notified about future broadcasts, then just click subscribe.